Who is guiding you? Remember that before we are flesh, we are spirit. So, meaning that our spiritual bodies, spirits, have actually lived longer than what our physical bodies are currently living. So it is important for us, whilst we are on this physical journey, to obtain spiritual information in which we will use when we go back to our spiritual journeys. So, my question today is, who is guiding you? Are you being guided by a modern day slave who continuously acknowledges and praises a foreign religion, a religion that came with the oppressor, a religion that saw us African people not as civilized people because they thought or saw that our African spiritual ways of practice was demonic? Who is guiding you? Are you being guided by an individual who reads a doctrine that he or she does not know the origin of, not even the author? Who is guiding you? Are you being guided by an individual who tells you that you as an African person needs to stop your own African spiritual practices and take upon the practice of a foreign religion, one that does not connect you with your ancestors but disconnects you from your true origin? Who is guiding you? Are you being guided by an individual who tells you that your ancestors knows nothing beyond the grave? So acknowledging them is seen as ancestral worship or demonic practice. Yet reading about people who never even existed is correct. Who is guiding you? Are you being guided by an individual who reads a doctrine that continuously contradicts itself in every chapter? Who is guiding you? Remember, I said that we are spirit before we are flesh. So there is spiritual information on this physical journey that we need to obtain from a true spiritual guider. These informations are information that will be useful to us in our next spiritual journey. So, if you are being misguided in terms of spiritual teachings on this physical journey, what knowledge of spirituality will you be able to use on your next journey when you move on from this physical world and go back to the spiritual realm? What information will you have acquired to be able to make sure that those that you left behind, you will be able to guide them correctly? Remember, the deeds in which you do today, whether it being good or bad, is the same deeds in which you will continue to do in your next life. So if you are a misguider in this physical world, that means you will be a misguider in the next spiritual realm that you will move on to. You will mislead your very own offsprings in which you live. If you stand in front of millions of people telling them that if or when their loved ones passes away and they visit them in a dream, that is a demon. Meaning that when you pass away one day and you visit your very own children or family member, they will see you as a demon because you have implanted that seed in their head to say that a family member that passes on is a demon. But a human being from another foreign religion is not. They are seen as saints. So who is guiding you? Are you guided by a modern day slave? A modern day slave who is under the colonization of religion. A modern day slave who is saying and preaching each and every day that the way in which religion came, the oppression in which it brought, the death in which it brought upon African lives is correct. That is who is guiding you if you continuously follow an individual who reads to you a scripture that was written by oppressors. Wow. For me, I am fortunate enough to be guided by a true spiritual guider. One that did not place himself on this position, but through the guidance of Izithunywa Neidalwa, he is aligned with the spiritual ways. I am fortunate enough that my ancestors opened up my eyes and aligned me and brought me to this spiritual guider to obtain true spiritual information that I know I will need, able to be a good ancestor to my offsprings in which I will leave behind one day. I am fortunate enough to be guided by an individual who his existence was spoken about by previous spiritual guiders before his even existence. These were the likes of Uana Mantumba and Simon Kimbangu, who could see, or the spiritual realm showed them of the coming of this individual. I am fortunate enough to be guided by a multi-award winner, a man who stands for the liberation and empowerment of African people, a man who today is restoring African individuals back to their African spiritual identities. For he understands that the foundation of African people lies within their African spirituality. I am fortunate enough today to be guided by Inkosi Yomoya, Dr. Uzwilezwe Radebe, a man with true leadership characters, a man who proves himself every day that the position in which he is at is not a position for his own well-being, but for the well-being of Africans. A man who understands that his own family is not necessarily his family that he creates for himself, but every other African individual as well. So that makes him aware that he cannot be greedy. He opens up opportunities for African people. That is a man that is guiding me spiritually. A man who possesses true spiritual revelations, not teachings that he comes up from his own mind, but teachings in which are revealed to him by the higher deities. A man who is truly restoring African people back to their African ways, showing us and telling us that if we align ourselves with our African indigenous spirituality, with our ancestors, and with Izithunywa, we will become a great African nation. A man who is literally trying to pave the way for African people in realizing that our true power lies within our African indigenous spirituality. So who is guiding you? Because like I said, we are spirit before we are flesh. So the spiritual information and knowledge that you should be getting on this physical journey in which you are on by a true spiritual guider is very crucial and important. Because once your physical body reaches its expiry date, your spirit will continue to live on. And remember that the good or bad deeds in which you do will be the good or bad deeds you will continue to do in your next spiritual journey. So it is important to also obtain good spiritual information to use on your next spiritual journeys, to be a good spiritual guide to the offsprings and family members in which you will leave behind. So, who is guiding you?
Kubalulekile umuntu, especially these days, uma ufuna ulwazi ne-proper understanding ngezinto zika moya, funa uthisha weqiniso wezinto zika moya.